Oh, Tashidele, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hope doing well. And welcome back to the Lojong session. So, we start the session with setting proper refuge in Guru Buddha Dhamma Sangha and establishing positive intention, altruistic intention to utilize this very session to be most meaningful for yourself and also most beneficial contribution to the peace and happiness of the noblest sentient beings. Sangye Jodang Zoje Jonala, Janju Bado Dane Jazoje, Daji Jinzoje Betonamje, Dola Benje Sanje Drubarai Jo, Sangye Jodang Zoje Jonala, Janju Bado Dane Jazoje, Daji Jinzoje Betonamje. Dola Benje Sanje Drubarai Sanje Jodang Zoje Jonala, Janju Bado Dane Jazoje, Daji Jinzoje Betonamje, Dola Benje Sanje Drubarai Jo. Kange doje ne zone dawa damje bambejre dambeje ne denze be godam de la cha ze lo to ni ni je zon do ju be la ma ze je kanje den de ge chana be me denze ja zo la so wa de zo da ju jin je lo semje damje de wa dang de we ju dan dem bra ju je semje damje donga dang donga je ju dan da wa ju semje damje donga me be de wa dang mi da wa ju je semje damje ni re cha da ni dan da we da nyo la ne bra ju ro je semje damje de wa dang de we ju dan dem bra ju je semje damje donga dang donga je ju dan da wa ju je semje damje donga me be de wa dang mi da wa ju semje damje ni re cha da ni dan da we da nyo la ne bra ju ro je semje damje de wa dang de we ju dan dem bra ju je semje damje donga dang donga je ju dan da wa ju je semje damje donga me be de wa dang mi da wa ju je semje damje ni re cha da ni dan da Tanyola Nebarai Joroji. Oh yeah. So if you are using same volume of this collection of mind training classical teachings, then we are on the page 168, and we are studying the Dhammarashita's the peacock roaming in the jungle of virulent poison, mind training teaching. And we are we will start from verse 76, and this section, this last sections from the final chapter from this text, very much focus on the wisdom aspect of practice, or the wisdom aspect of mind training to overcome the negation, such as self-grasping, ignorant, and self-cherishing attitude. So, and the subject is very much focused on the reputations of self-grasping, self-grasping ignorant, or self-grasping ignorant, and the self-cherishing attitude as a mistaken, apprehension by means of the skillful use of conventional logics and reasonings. So the verse by verse very much, debate between the wrong view and the wisdom, or is very much illustrating the faults of the negation, the self-grasping, self-charity attitude, and the powerful antidote of the wisdom, how reveal the actual fact or the actual nature of the self and the rest of the phenomena. So when you relate to, to yourself, taking the teaching as a mirror, to to realize the false conception within our own continuum, and also, understand the capability of the wisdom to be able to bring to be able to overcome in those false conceptions, and it is consequences, including the suffering of samsara. So you can, of course, whatever Dharma teaching we do, we have to relate to our own self, and as a form of purifications of the false and accumulations of wisdom. So that way, so not just like accumulating textual, intellectual knowledge, but then it really to impact your own spiritual development. So that's the way how you can study. So the verse 76, it says, Pet, Mura, mortally strike, O Lord of death, set fire to the life force of this demon, the joy-seeking desire, dance and temple upon the head of the proscrination, cut completely the thread that bind to silent existence. So as a letter, pe, from the Sanskrit mantra letter, pet is very much represent the dispelling of negativities or hindrances. So from here you can see that it's very much like applications of antidote to negate the negation. So mortal strike on the Lord of Death. So Lord of Death here, Lord of Death, the interpretive death and definitive death. The interpretive death is very much, very much that seizing of the life force. The definitive death is the, um, uh, the darkness of egoic grasping, or the darkness of the, the ignorant, darkness of the self-grasping ignorant. So that is the definite death. So when you encounter that, then it really, dies all the illuminations. It really dies all the virtues. All the positivities. That's why it's a definite death. A definitive death. So it's referring to that. Set fire to the life force of this demon, or set fire. So fire here, refer to the antidote of emptiness. Or set fire to the life force of this demon. So life force is the life force can be understood as the misconception, false conceptions of understanding of true nature of self and phenomena. So that's the life force. This demon referring to the self-grasping, self-grasping ignorant, you see. So why there's a existence of self-grasping ignorant? Because there's the life force of that is existent, which is the false conception. So you see, yeah. So so that demon, the self-grasping attitude and the self-cherishing attitude, self-grasping attitude is the demon, and the another phase, the illustration of self-grasping attitude, is a self-cherishing attitude. So these both can regard as the demon. Their pursuit, their attitude is the joy-seeking desire. The joy-seeking desire is referring seeking false views, seeking false views, like such as sensual pleasure, which mistakenly pursue with the false conceptions of regarding suffering as a joy, impure as pure, etc. In other words, the desire here also can refer to the inwardly concern, the self-grasping and self-cherishing. As long as it is life false conception is there, and it is demand, it is pursue, it is goal is to live, live in the pursuit of the inwardly concern, which are the false and negativities. So it's talking about that. Dance and temple upon the head of the procrastination, So, dance and temple upon through all the means, like from the tantric practice, 4 activities of the tantra, like pacification, increasing, controlling, wrathfulness. Then from the common path, common dharma, then either through antidote of loving kindness, compassion, or either through the antidote of selflessness and emptiness. So dance and temple upon the head of the procrastination, which is the obstacle, which is the self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude, which is obstacle to our happiness, which is obstacle to all the virtues, including the freedom from all the oceans of samsara, up to the state of liberation and enlightenment. Cut completely. What's the purpose of applying antidote? Is cut completely the thread, the bind to the silent existence. So that way you can completely cut the chain to cycle within the suffering realm. So it, as long as you clear, you destroy, you eliminate the obstacle, which is the self-grasping attitude, the obstacle to nirvana and enlightenment, obstacle to happiness and the peerless happiness of enlightenment, the self-grasping and the self-cherishing attitude, then that will bring to the stop, to taking rebirth into the suffering world, the samsara, the silent existence. You see. So in another word, the conclusion is, if we feel silent existing, or the contaminated body, or the samsaric life is suffering, then if we really want to be free from, definitely can be free from. And if we want to find any tools or the technique to be free, then to apply the antidote, which is the path, whichever is suitable to your own capability, like common path of the dharma, or the uncommon path of the tantric path. So that way, by destroying the causes of the samsara, uh, uh, the root causes of samsara, the self-grasping, self-cherishing attitude, then one can be completely free from entire oceans of self-existent. So it's talking about that. Verse 77, we all suffer in this cycle of existence. As I search down to its foundation for the root, I see the king, the thought I am, which reside in the palace of my heart in the midst of false conception. So this is the reason. You see, if we all suffer in the cycle of existence. We all sentient beings, as long as we are uh, carrying the contaminated aggregates, which is the influence of the karma and delusion, then we all are in the same situation. Either you or me or they, all are in the same situation of experiencing the cycle of suffering existent. As so, if we really, I search down to the foundation. So, how come these sufferings so similar to you and me and all the sentient beings in samsara? If we really go and search where this comes from, then its foundation is very much the king, the self-grasping attitude, the thought I am, the false recognitions of the real identity of self, the I, and which very concretely, hold its ground in the vast palace of my heart, in the vast palace of my consciousness, my thoughts, and the basis of me, the aggregates, the 5 aggregates, which are very much like the palace, palace, inner and outer, all the basis of the king, so in the heart, which are completely constructed uh, by the false conception. So the so the palace, uh, you know such as the 5 aggregates, then the internal, all the functions of the palace, like such as ministries, etc. You know, those senses, like such as like five senses, and rest of the secondary thoughts. Uh, uh, then there very much the main power that which is held by the main the false idea of I, the self grasping, self ego-centered attitude. So that is the player, or that is the founder, or that is the root, or that is the basis or the foundation of all the suffering that you and I complain about. You see, so this is the reason that we need to understand. So it's talking about that. So verse 78, when I banish all blame onto this and combat it, what does it say? I have been here since beginningless time. I pervade everywhere, inner, outer, and in between, and all the chief and the six classes of consciousness, whether this is true. So this is very much debating, like a wisdom debating with the ignorant, or or your logical mind, debating with your habitual, habitual, the habitual way of our mind, the thinkings that carry on. It's very much like between debate between that. So now, uh, uh, so if the wisdom, asks to the ignorant, when I banish all blame onto this and combat it, if I blame whatever suffering, the verse 77, the suffering and the root causes, the reasoning, everything I blame onto you, all the misfortune that I experienced from beginningless lifetime up to now, is due to you, self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude, and you try to fight, you try to combat it, then what does it say? What does the ignorant grasping or the self-cherishing attitude will reply? Then the self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude will reply like this: I have been here since beginningless times. Mm. Since beginningless times, I have been here, which is so true. I pervade everywhere, inner, outer, and in between, which is so true. Uh, in our understanding, uh, including the false eyes belief that I pervade in everywhere, in every sense. More than that. Uh, it very much pretend and influence us and pretend to be like I as the aggregates, the whole, the I as in it, in the aggregates, or I as a sense of owning in every the object that you relate to the conscious, or to the senses. In short, I this self-centered, egoic mind is very much pervade everywhere, inner, outer, and in between. You know, uh, mm, ask all the chief, the six classes of consciousness, whether it is true. So uh, um, if you don't believe, a wisdom, if you don't believe what I just said, then you ask the main mind, from the six mind, the main mind, the number six consciousness. mm, uh, you ask that, then there you will figure it out, that you will be acknowledge that the chief, uh, the attitude is the self-grasping attitude, or the self-cherishing attitude. And not only that, if you happen to ask the rest of the senses, like eye senses, ear senses, feeling senses. If you ask each and every one of them, everyone will illustrate that how much they are as oneness with the self-grasping and self-cherishing, attitude. How much as oneness. You see. So you can ask whether it is true or not. To your own mind, You see. So if we don't have um, the critical thinking, the logical thinking based on the Buddha's guidance, Buddhist scripture guidance, uh, then if you ask to your own understanding, the habitual understanding, as well as the influence that we get in our ordinary life, other than the Dharma, everything will be reminded that it's very much, oneness with the self-grasping, oneness with the self-cherishing, or one entity with the self-grasping, or one entity with the self-cherishing, or everything is like owned by self-grasping, everything is owned by self-cherishing, or everything is illustration of self-grasping, or everything is illustration of self-cherishing, or everything is in the meaning of self-grasping, everything is the meaning of self-cherishing, you see. So everything is very much in the expressions of delusion, delusion. So that's so true, until we realize the wisdom, our senses are completely influenced by the false conceptions, therefore, our ordinary minds are, false mind, it conclude as a false mind. Is because of that. You see, whenever we open our senses, when we see things, when we relate our senses to the object, we relate wrongly, mistakenly, falsely. You see, we perceive falsely, meaning, when we relate our senses to the object, the senses will perceive uh, in inherent existence. Senses will perceive, true existence, independent existence, permanent existence, and on the basis of that, then you grasp as an inherent, grasp as a true existence, grasp as a dualistic existence, grasp as a permanent existence, independent existence. You see, so whenever our thought arises, uh, whenever our perceptions are relating to the objects, is all are apprehended mistakenly. You see, and this is the proof. This is the answer. If wisdom happened to ask to the ignorant, how come you pervading everywhere? How come that that you are so important? And the ignorant and self-grasping attitude will reply that way. You see, and and if you don't clarify with the proper wisdom of emptiness, you will really think it is all true. Whatever self-grasping, self-cherishing answer to us, everything makes sense. You see, everything makes sense. How we usually make sense, or how we usually sounds like making sense of everything everything we see, everything we think, everything we taste, feel, isn't it? So in actual reality of emptiness, or in the ultimate truth, in fact, everything is falsely interpreted, everything falsely make a judgment, everything is falsely grasped and falsely perceived, falsely conclude like that. You see, so he's talking about that. So you see, you can also relate this understanding, like from Nagarjuna's precious garland, by by defending, the ignorance proof, using the wisdom, like this, through a logical analysis, like based on this quotation: the person is not earth, not water, not fire, not wind, not space, not consciousness, and not all of them, uh, and other than that, and there is no person. You see. The ignorant and self-grasping attitude say totally opposite. I'm in everywhere. So then, for the wisdom, you say no. You are not. You are not. You are not even. You are not at all there. You are completely ceased into empty. You see. So you can use this kind of logical reasoning uh, to awaken, you see, or to really not to stay under the influence of the ignorant. So like that. So that's how that you you can study, you can contemplate, you can meditate, So then that way, slowly, you purify very thick, sticky, the habitual influence of the self-grasping, self-cherishing attitude, So if you don't put effort, keep studying, keep contemplating, keep meditating on that, uh, we will be so numb, like up to today, from beginningless lifetime up to today, we are completely believing what exactly the self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude claim in us, like even like when I look at this mala, you see, if I don't use wisdom, analytical wisdom, I in fact perceiving and holding this mala, and accordingly with what the self-grasping ignorant claim just now, how the self-grasping ignorant claim, and actually it's all fault. You see, you see. So we need to educate ourselves with study, contemplation, and meditation to overcome that mistaken apprehension or mistaken relation to this mala. Then until you find the emptiness of this mala, until you find the emptiness of the you who perceive the mala, until you find the emptiness of the relation between you and this mala, every aspect of relation that you have with this mala in emptiness, until then we have to study. Until then we need to contemplate, we need to meditate like that. So that as an example, we have to do that with each and every single phenomena, starting from your own, the name, the identity, I. Then verse 79, with whom shall I battle? For I am my own enemy. Who will save whom? For I am my own saver. I am my own witness for my action and inactions. I will be free when I tame my own self. So so this can be conversation. This can be debate. This debate can be put by both the ignorant as well as the wisdom. Uh, the ignorant also can say, with whom shall I battle? Since I am the principal, since I run my life, uh, uh, since I don't see any obstacle in me, since I don't see that my opponent in me, why I need to battle? For I am my own. If I am my own enemy, whom I shall battle? Uh, uh, if I am on my own saver, then who will save whom? Uh, if I am my own, if I am responsible for my own action and inaction, then I myself is my own witness. So so from the negative point of view, from the ignorant point of view, if you debate like that, if you reason like that, then I will be free when I tame my own mind. I will be free, not to investigate what is my ultimate truth. But if you put this debate, if this debate put by the wisdom, then you see, with whom I shall battle. You see, so there's nothing to battle outside. There is a real enemy there, which ruin your life. Which you really need to battle, and that is within you, within your own concept, the false concept, the self-grasping, self-cherishing attitude. Okay, so uh, so since the obstacle is not out there, since obstacle is within yourself, when you clear that away, the saver is also within yourself. There's no one out there saving you. As long as as long as you clear the obstacle within you, that is the way that how you save yourself. You see. And if you don't have to go and examine outside there, you don't have to go and examine in the object. You can examine within your own awareness. If you examine within your own awareness will be the witness to realize all the actions and inactions are the are the you know are performed by your own mind, your own wrong mind and your own positive mind. You see, so action and inactions, it is a beneficial one. It is performed by the ignorant and the delusions. Action and inactions are uh, what's it? Beneficial one is performed by the wisdom. Uh, Non-beneficial one is performed by the ignorance. You see, and that you don't have to find any kind of like evidence from outside. If you thoroughly investigate, and you yourself will able to witness that. So therefore, in short, your own mind is the one that which very much determining whatever complaint that you presented before, the suffering of the world, or the suffering of samsara, that can be overcome if you tame your own mind. All the beautiful qualities of the liberation, enlightenment, if you wish to achieve it, you can achieve it within cultivation of your mind. So therefore, I will free when I tame my own self. So so the freedom to enlightenment, freedom to liberation, freedom from all the sufferings, and including the root cause of ignorance, is by taming your own mind. So it's talking about that. Uh, mm. So logically, you can also understand what the Chantakriti have said in entry to the middle way. First we perceive the I and grasp onto it. Then we conceive the mind and cling to the materials world, like water trapped on the water wheel. We spin in circles, powerless. I praise the compassion that embrace all beings. So you can use this kind of reasoning. So there's no obstacle out there. It's all to do with your own inner false thinking, such as the self-grasping attitude. Because of the self-grasp, because of the false idea about the I, then there will be false relation to the object, in regard to apprehending as a mind. You see, because of that clinging, because of that, then all the delusions, such as attachment, grasping, will arise in relation to rest of the object of the senses, like a material world. Is very much like a water trap on the water wheel. Like continue to spin, circle powerlessly, uh, the existence of misery in the self existent. You see, so so with that reasoning, then you conclude the false I is the root cause. The egoic centered I is the root cause. So as long as you destroy that, as long as you purify that, then you're able to tame your own self. When you tame your own self, there won't be arising of false grasping, or false perceiving uh, to the object. Then there won't be false claim of mind. You see, then there won't be false perception to the material world. So then the chain of the grasping will be cut. By chain of grasping, cutting the chain of the grasping, then uh, you know you cut the chain of this, the reborn into the suffering world. So it can be understood like that. Then verse 80: when someone tame another, conflict and dispute arise. Where conflict and dispute arise, uh, evildoers gather. The lustful and hateful have no chance of freedom. Thus yogi, free of false conception, is blissful. Mm. So um, when someone tame another, conflict, if you try to, if you try to tame external world, if you try to tame other than the mind, other than uh, the the false conception, the false mind, the self-grasping attitude, then uh, instead of ending to the conflict, instead of ending to the suffering, rather it will bring more conflict, more dispute will be arises, more false will be arises, because you will never get to the root cause of the problem. Rather you will always create a false uh, um, battlefield. It's like you will never overcome. Let's say if you want to catch a thief, until you don't catch the real thief, the more you catch false thief, you get into more trouble, because they are not thief, and you just blame them as a thief. They will bring you more obstacle because of because of your false recognition. Similar way, any problem, including samsaric problem, as long as we continue to blame outside, blame others, blames as a creation of some external force, could be even external divine force, then uh, the problem will never solve. The samsaric problem will never solve. And so therefore, the way to solve the conflict, the way to solve the samsara, is to to understand the inner enemy, which is the self-grasping, self-cherishing attitude. So where conflict and dispute arise, you see, so like what it says, where conflict and dispute arises, and evildoers, gather, you know, instead of catching the false conception of self-cherishing attitude, you tend to blame others, then they will gather more harms, And not only that, the lustful and hateful have no chance of freedom, and that way we will never be free from, attachment and avert graspings at all. You see, so therefore, thus yogic free from false conception is blissful. So therefore, the true practitioner, those who really know exactly the Dharma, and those who practice well, and those yogics, uh, uh, they get freedom from the control of karma, control of delusion, and eventually, they even achieve arahantship, liberations and enlightenment. Uh, 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 because of, they recognize the real enemy, because of they recognize the real uh, the ground of the false, you see, which is the false conception. So as long as you are free from the false conception, then what do you achieve, what is the winning prize is blissful, you know uh, uh, even you achieve just a nirvana, is, there's no influence of karma and delusion. Then if you achieve the state of full enlightenment, then it's, you achieve the everlasting dharmakaya, you see. So therefore the yogic free of false conception is blissful. It's talking about that. Hmm. So in relation to that, in a Dhammapada, I saw there's some nice words. So it says like this: mind precede all mental state. Mind is their chief. They are all meet wrong, rough. If with the impure mind the person speak, act suffering, follow him like the wheel that follows the foot of the ox. Mind precede all mental state. Mind is their chief. They are all mind wrong. If with a pure mind a person speak or act happiness, follow him like his never departing shadow. He abused me, he struck me, he overpowered me, he robbed me. Those who harbor such thought do not still their hatred. He abused me, he struck me, he overpowered me, he robbed me. Those who do not harbor such thought still their hatred. Hatred is never appraised by the hatred in the world. By non-hatred alone is the hatred appeased. This is the law internal. There are those who do not realize that one day we all must die, but those who do realize this settle their quarrel, just as storm shows down to the victory, so does the Mara overpower the man who lives for the pursuit of the pleasure, who is uncontrolled in his sense, immoderate in eating, idolent, and dissipated. Just as storm cannot prevail against the rocky mountain, the Mara can never overpower the man who lives meditating on the impurities, who is controlled in his sense, moderate in eating, and filled with the faith and earnest effort. Whoever being depraved, devoid of self-control and trustfulness, should don the monk's yellow robe. He surely is not worthy of the robe. But whoever is purged or depravity, well established in virtues and filled with the self-control and uh, trustfulness, he indeed is worthy of the yellow robe. Those who mistake the unessential to be essential and the essential to be unessential, dwelling in the wrong thought, never arrive at the essential. Those who know the essential to be essential and the unessential to be unessential, dwelling in the right thoughts, to arrive at the essential. Just as the rain breaks through the ill um, thatched house, so passion penetrates the undeveloped mind. Just as the rain does not break through well thatched house, so passion never penetrate a well-developed mind, something like that. So, you can relate. This is the from the Dhammapada. So verse 81 is a alala. What more can be said? Mortally strike at the life force that grasps as existent. Set fire to the life force that grasps as non-existent too. Since the self-grasping king is to blame, vanquish the chief. You see, so alala is more like amazed kind of expression. What more to be said? The conclusion is, what. This is very much the like conclusion of the wisdom, kind of voicing it out. Mortal strike at the life force, the grasping at existence, the extreme of existing or the internalism. Uh, so, in order to reach to the absolute emptiness, in order to get to the absolute understanding of void of, false conception, false conception or the ignorant of not understanding the ultimate truth, you know, you need to eliminate the two faults. So therefore, you eliminate uh, uh, using logical reasonings, strike the life force, the grasping at existent. So first you destroy the extreme of existence, the internalism. uh, then secondly, you eliminate or destroy the life force that grasps non-existent, which is the extreme of the non-existent or the nihilism. Mm. Uh, since the self-grasping king is the blame, vanquish the chief. By eliminating in your understanding the two extreme, then uh, uh, so that the two extreme are the main kind of like a leg that stayed fast on the ground for the self-grasping king or the self-grasping ignorant. So since self-grasping ignorance is the main blame, and you destroy the two feet, the two extreme, you're able to, you're able to eliminate or destroy the chief of the false, which is the self-grasping ignorant. So so this is also can be understand. You see, um, like what Lama Tsongkhapa stated in the three principal aspect of the path. When you know that appearances dispel the extreme of existence, while the extreme of nothingness is eliminated by the emptiness. You see. So so the extreme of internalism is that uh, if it's existing, then it has to be existing inherently, or existing, truly, existing dualistically, existing independently, or existing permanently, like all the negation that expressed uh, by each of the the four philosophical schools, uh, or the limitations on the negation of in the assertion of selflessness and emptiness uh, of the four different philosophical school uh, are the either falls in the extremes of existent, or either falls in the extremes of non-existent. You see, so so the Pasangika Madhyamika view, the final view, the Nagarjuna, or the Nagarjuna's view, Lama Tsongkhapa's view, Dhammarashita's view, Buddha's ultimate intent of the ultimate nature of the emptiness, uh, uh, which is the middle way, which is the Uma, the middle way. The middle way has to be only established by eliminating the true extreme. In order to come in the middle, you need to eliminate the true extreme, the nihilism, internalism and nihilism. You see, so the Nagarjuna, Lama Tsongkhapa, Buddha's intent, the Madhyamika Pasangika school, uh, the establishment of emptiness, establishment of interdependent arising, establishment of emptiness or Uma is exist but do not exist. None exists by none exists, not existent but do not was it non-existent by non-existent but not non-existent. Existent but not existent, non-existent but not non-existent. Okay, so you see, so existent, you see, exist. So for the Madhyamika, in order to exist, do not need to exist inherently. In order to exist, do not need to exist truly, uh, um, independently, dualistically, permanently, in fact, existing means existing. Existing means existing, not in inherent existent, not in inherently existent. Existent means not in truly existent. Existent means not existing in dualistically existent. Existent means uh, existent means not existing independently existent. You see, so now non-existent, lack of inherent, was it non-existent, non-existent, uh, uh, non-existent, non-existent doesn't mean not existent, because of not non-existent in inherently, therefore it is existent. Because of non-existent in truly, therefore is existent. Because of non-existent in dualistically, therefore is existent. Because of non-existent uh, independently, therefore is existent. Because of non-existent impermanently, therefore is existent. You see, so you can use the four schools of the philosophy, the tenets, understanding into here. Then you can not just say I eliminate the two extreme, but you eliminate the two extreme in understanding, in understanding, in a very very gross to the profound characteristic, or from the profound to the gross characteristic. So layer by layer that you peel off, peel off from your habitual wrong view on existence. You see, so that way, then you can come to a Uma, or the middle way, or the absolute emptiness, which is free of the two, extreme. So now that you apply to, you apply to your own identity, you apply to your each and every aggregate, you apply to all the phenomena. So you have to train ourselves. You see, you have to, once you understand one, then like in the Heart Sutra, you see, form is empty, emptiness is form, form is not other than emptiness, emptiness is not other than form. So now you apply to I is empty, etc., etc. Then your cup, your mala, your picture, your guru, your Buddha, everything. So you contemplate that way, you meditate that way. So that's how that you purify. That's a, that's how that you purify the layer of the self-grasping and actualize the clarity of wisdom in us, like that. So even in accordance to the Sutric tradition, Buddha first taught the middle way uh, that avoids the two extremes of self-indulgence and the self denial. So for that, Buddha skillfully at the beginning level, Buddha presented the eight noble for noble eightfold path that follow the middle way. Otherwise, even in the even in ordinary in our ordinary world, there are people that over self-indulgence or denial of the self-existence. You see, so Buddha skillfully introduced the eightfold path in order to come to a sensible middle path, middle way. Then later, then in the later teachings of the Buddha, use the term middle way to describe the view, to describe the ultimate view that is free from the extremes of eternalism and the nihilism. Then later, around second or third century, then Nagarjuna presented a very refined interpretation of the middle way view, that which is the free of the two extreme, the Uma, by clearing the two extreme that just discussed before, then establish the genuine and ultimate emptiness view. So this is the view that we need to build in relation to our own self identity and the rest of the relation to rest of the phenomena, you see. So that way, then uh, the ignorant, the false view, false conception will start to decrease, deconstruct. Then the correct view, the wisdom, construct. And eventually, it will lead to first like conceptual realization on emptiness, then later non-conceptual realization, direct realization emptiness. Then eventually, that wisdom emptiness will develop to become a dharmakaya, the ultimate state of the Buddhahood. So like that. In verse 82, if I fail to tame the principal mental consciousness, I risk being led by the self-grasping king. Once the principal mental consciousness is subdued, the other chiefs, such as the I, will also be vanquished. Yeah. So as long as you tame, as long as you tame your sixth consciousness, the main consciousness, really to awaken into our innate wisdom by dispelling the false grasping, by dispelling the false grasping, by dispelling the false identity, the I itself. So that way, then naturally, rest of our senses will be purified. Then when our senses relate to the phenomena, will relate purely, without any negativities, without any false. You see, so then that way we will stop committing any karma. When we look at things, when we hear things. So now even without negative mind, the moment we open our mind, the moment we open our ear and our eye, everything we see dualistically, everything we see inherently, and that itself thicken our grasping. That itself is the it thicken our ignorance, then that will make our samsara so stubborn, then continue to suffer like that, you see. So it is a very serious study, very serious meditation that to be conducted in our day-to-day life, otherwise, uh, you know like every awareness is very much committing wrong karma, you see, because of because the false conception is attached to our perceptions, you see, like that. Mm. Then verse 83. So tame this mental consciousness, and then form, sound, smell, and so on will be no more. Grasping at self and its belongings, to shall be no more. The conceptualization king will starve for one of conditions, you see. So as mentioned before, uh, the as Chantakiti mentioned before, I quoted before, as long as uh, mm, the false the identity, the I, from the six consciousness is dispelled, then rest of the consciousness will be purified. Then there will be no grasping at self and no grasping to the belongings. Like this, as I mentioned before, at this stage, whenever we look at something, it create a negative karma because of it. The eye senses, eye consciousness, influenced by the grasping. You see, grasping of true existence, grasping of dualistic, grasping of including grasping of permanent existence. You see, as long as we are not aware of what you see is in the nature impermanent, as long as you are not aware of what you see as in the nature of lack of inherent existence, we are literally viewing viewing this screen as an inherent existence, viewing this in screen, even though we don't say it, but in reality we are viewing in inherent existence, in dualistic existence. So that how thicken our ignorance. That's how beginningless lifetime up to today we're stuck in samsara. And if we don't free ourselves now with the help of emptiness, with the help of these profound wisdoms, we will continue to stuck for a long time. Mm. Then verse 84, when one has spoken to the king in this way, conception will be naturally free and understood as a reality expenses. And the six classes of the consciousness are unreal like illusory, elephant. Subject and objects are unreal like the actions of the chimera. So you see, so all this impact will come its our way. Verse 85, since this is so, eliminate false conception from their root. Since there is no subject or object, transform egoic view into the expenses. Since there is neither I nor you, leave attachment and anger in their innate state. So everything try to interpret and dissolve into its absolute nature, including those negative emotions like anger, attachment. When you let it rest in its absolute nature, then it will rest into in emptiness, because the absolute nature of even the anger, attachment are void of inherent existence, you see. So we learn to come to a point that we don't live a life with all the exaggerations and the interpretations, rather able to dissolve into its absolute nature, the innate nature, which is free of elaborations. Verse 86, like the horn of rabbit, neither sharp nor dull faculties exist. So free those of higher and middling faculties from their chain of bondage. Like the child of the barren woman, there's nothing to discard or adopt. So integrate all of the samsara nirvana into perfect equanimity. Perfect equanimity is perfect in the establishment of it is absolute reality. There's no fabricated elaborations by conceptual ideas. Verse 87, like the turtle hair, no shortness or the length exists. So at the free of birth and the death in the great middle way, like echoes that are primordially empty, integrate all conventional fact into the sublime truth. Mhm. So like that, so all these example are in this sphere of unborn space like nature, this body free of conceptual aberration is fearless. Om Om, by recognizing this as a true, utterly pure Dharmakaya, may I May I be sustained by the kindness of the great compassionate one. So is a symbolism of non-origination. Emptiness is a space of unborn space like the nature, which is the Buddha nature. This body free of conceptual evolution of fearless, uh, the whatever the basis that the creation of either Dharmakaya or either Sambhavakaya, Nirmanakaya, or our even including this ordinary basis of the physical aggregates that which represented by the syllable E, body free of conceptual elaboration. If you overcome the conceptual elaboration of it, then we are able to remain in its absolute nature, which is fearless. Om, which is the symbolism of the resultant or the absolute Dharmakaya, uh, or the basis of the Dharmakaya, which is our own innate being, by recognizing this as an utterly pure Dharmakaya. So, our own true nature, you recognize as a Dharmakaya, you emerge into its absolute being, then it is absolute being that's no different from even the resultant, Dharmakaya, the resultant Buddha. May I be sustained. So when you realize that, when you realize emptiness even in this ordinary body, when you realize emptiness of this, even this ordinary mind, when you realize the emptiness nature of this fundamental state of mind in Dharmakaya, mm, uh, including the resultant, the Buddha's body and the causal this ordinary body, everything you understood, you realize as in the nature of one taste in emptiness, then you will be always sustained, protect. You will be guided and protected and nurtured by the great compassion, great compassionate one. Uh, you will be if you are as a beginner, as ordinary being, when you realize emptiness, then when you nurture by compassion, then you will, without any doubt, you will be actualized state of full enlightenment. If you realize if you realize emptiness directly, then uh, then if you realize emptiness directly, then uh, you see, then yeah, of course, when you realize emptiness directly, then which enter into the path of the Mahayana, then you are, in another word, when you realize emptiness, then you will be always uh, uh, sustained by the kindness of a great compassionate one, the compassion essence of all the Buddhas. So it's talking about that. So so conclusion of this, few verses that I read very quick. uh, uh, you can reflect, in accordance with the meaning in the Heart Sutra, from the word, the form is empty, then all the way up to uh, um, um, they reach the end point of the nirvana, in the Heart Sutra. The form is emptiness, then you read all the way up to they reach the end point of the nirvana. Up to there, then you meditate. You start with uh, you start understanding the emptiness of form, then rest of the aggregates, then including samsara and the nirvana, all different, the self and the phenomena, everything, you interpret, you meditate, you understand into emptiness. So you can use that. Or you can also use the sevenfold analysis of emptiness on chariot to analyze, like what emphasized in the Madhyamika teachings, like such as the carrot, chariot or carrot. I don't know how to pronounce it. Chariot. The chariot is one with its part. The chariot is different from its part. The chariot possess its part. The chariot that which depend upon it is chariot. the chariot that which depend upon its part, the chariot mere collection of its part, the chariot merely its shape, So you can use this analogy, the seven kind of analysis onto I, you say I one with, it is part of the aggregates, I as a different from it is aggregates, I uh, is possessed in it is part, I that which is depend upon it is parts, it is aggregates, I that which is depend upon, it is individual aggregates, the parts, I as a mere collection of it is, aggregates, I as a mere it is shape, on the basis of the aggregates. So similarly, you can examine, rest of the phenomena in order for us to familiarize uh, in the wisdom of selflessness. You see, then that's how that you can uh, purify the thickness of the influence of the past ignorant habitual, and uh, actualize the wisdom of emptiness. So something like that. Okay. So I'm sorry today I have to stop quicker because I'm attending the transmissions of teachings from Tirumbuche. So yeah, so I have to rush a bit here because Rinpoche is already starting his teaching. So yeah, so this we conclude as like in the column says, this work entitled "The Peacock Roaming in the Jungle of Vigilant Poison" was motivated by the great uh, non-objectifying compassion of all sentient beings. It was composed by me, Dhammapada, a yogic dwelling in the dark mountain cave, who has trained his eyes of intelligence in the merit field of the knowledge, as again power over the undeceiving laws of karma, and is free of doubt pertaining to the meaning of the non-dual view. May it be auspicious, for all. Sawa Mangalam. Hmm? So this complete the text on the peacock roaming in the jungle of vigilant poison by Dhammarakshita. Okay, so thank you very much. And seems like the pandemic is still being very stubborn, still continuing, many part of the world, and some part of the cities and some part of the countries, some part of the world is still under lockdowns. So therefore, then yeah, we will still continue. In fact, all these Lojong teachings, we started since the pandemic started, and try to just to keep track of ourselves in the Dharma practice. Not to get distracted, not to get influenced by negative energies, negative influence of the adversities that are happening around us. Rather, try to take all the adversities that we go through onto the path to enlightenment. In particularly, when we have more time, because of there's no traveling, because of there's many centers unable to have physical teaching programs. So just to occupy your time, very much we did this course, and some way I think many people have expressed their benefited. So therefore, hopefully that we don't have to you know, you know, the pandemic will overcome soonest. Yeah, but it seems like at this very time, still, many people are still have to stay at home, lockdown, etc. So we will continue um, for coming weeks. So therefore, the next teaching we will do the right after the text, the melodies of adamantine song, the chanting meditation on mind training attribute to Maitri Yogic, one of the Lama Atisha's guru. Okay, so see you. And please do dedication accordingly by yourself. So here I'm rushing a bit, so we do short dedication. So in short, we dedicate all the merit collected by ourselves, individually, collectively, and the merit collected by past, present, future Buddhas. We dedicate for the well-being of numberless sentient beings, enlightenment. And we also dedicate to those few people who are going through some health difficulties. Swift recovery of David, swift recovery of Madam Wong, etc., and all the rest of the people who given a name, and also dedicate to those people who pass away, those people who passed away in the last 49 days, and those people who give name to dedicate. And we dedicate just like the Bodhisattva Cheresik and Bodhisattva Manjushri, how they dedicate the merit, we do dedicate the same way. Chanjo Zemjo Rinpoche Maje Banam Jeju Jawa Nyamba Meba Yang Kone Kondo Pewaje, Tony Tawa Rinpoche Maje Banam Jeju Jawa Nyamba Meba Yang Kone Kondo Pewaje, Tawa Rinpoche Maje Banam Jeju Jawa Nyamba Meba. Gonde Kondo Pewajo, Jame Bawaji, Yamada Kondo, Zambote, and Dejan, the Kunji, Daloji, Jawa, the Tadam Jeram Dungo, the Sunjabe Jawadam Jedongo, Kanajudo, but the Taji Jebets of the Sambo Jeje Rabdongo, Waraje, Karina Veko, the Penda, the one Malajo, and the Cheres, and the Jado Shabe City, but the dangerous. Tozo Janja Jama Jabe, the Zinjo Beko, the Baji Chozo, the method of Batazo, the Jokondo Shab, the show, some Geneva, Chinja, but you don't let Tajo Jedoven and Amanda Batajo. Pamazim Jedam Jedan, the Jujing and Rotam Jetato, the Janjo Sabakana Sujo, but the Dagun, Molam Dub Juroji. Jawakundo Yandalama, the Major Jebala Longe, Sadalam, Doja Janjo Goma, you do, Jobeta Zoa make a vision, the Wapa, the Senjera, somebody to it, Tobaji Deko, the Jumba, the Manivation also. Then the Bolojo, the Matemba Uren, never Tashi, Shunimon, the Center, and Yumego and the Legend. Kunjo Sumje Tashi. Okay, thank you. Take care. Bye bye. Take care.